Welcome to setting up the React Native development ecosystem. After watching this video, you will be able to describe the common dependencies for Android development in React Native, download and install the Node.js software, install and configure Android Studio, install the required Android SDK for React Native, and configure the Android_home environment variable. In this video, you'll learn how to set up your development environment for React Native so that you can run your project using Android Studio. This will enable you to develop with Android emulators and build your apps locally. Although we will be using macOS as the development operating system and Android as the target operating system in our example, you could use any of the combinations of the development OS and the target OS available in the setup process. You will need Node.js and Android Software Development Kit, SDK, possibly JDK 17, and Android Studio to work with Android. You need to go to the official website to download Node.js at the URL displayed. Select the Pre-built Installer tab. After selecting the Pre-built Installer tab, it will automatically suggest specific software to install based on the platform and architecture you select from the drop-down lists. Similarly, it selects other options based on your selected operating system. After selecting the OS, you install the Node.js software. While you can use any editor of your choice to develop your app, you will need to install Android Studio, a specific Android SDK, and possibly also JDK 17, in order to set up the necessary tooling to build your React Native app for Android. To install Android Studio, first navigate to the download page at developer.android.com/studio. Click the button to download Android Studio Koala, agree to the license terms, and download it. The current exe file will be downloaded to your default folder, such as Downloads. Double-click the exe file to start the installation and click Next on the Welcome page. Click Next on the Choose Components page. On the Configuration Settings Install Locations page, accept the default path or specify the path where you want Android Studio to be installed and click Next. On the Choose Start Menu folder page, accept the default folder and click Install. On the Installation Complete page, click Next and then click Finish. After installation completes, Android Studio will launch for the first time and it will need configuring. In the Import Android Studio Settings dialog box, accept the default and click OK. On the Welcome page that appears, click Next. Then it asks you to choose the type of setup you want for Android Studio, with Standard being the default. Alternatively, if you want to change anything, choose Custom instead. Either way, click Next to continue. On the Verify Settings page, verify your configuration settings and click Next. Next, read and accept the terms of any license agreements and click Finish. After finishing the configuration of Android Studio, the installation process will start downloading the required tools and software components. During this process, you may be asked to allow the installation of some components. When that download process has been completed, click Finish. Android Studio will now be installed and it will automatically launch. Android Studio installs the latest Android SDK by default. Building a React Native app with native code, however, requires the Android 14 Upside Down Cake SDK in particular. Additional Android SDKs can be installed through the SDK Manager in Android Studio. In Android Studio, click More Actions and select SDK Manager. On the SDK Platforms tab, check the box for Show Package Details in the bottom right corner. Expand the Android 14.0 Upside Down Cake entry, then make sure the following items are checked. Android SDK Platform 34, Intel x86-64 Atom System Image, or Google API's Intel x86-64 Atom System Image, or for Apple M1 Silicon, Google API's ARM64 V8A System Image. On the SDK Tools tab, check the box next to Show Package Details here as well. Expand the Android SDK Build Tools 35 entry, then make sure that 34.0 is selected. Finally, click Apply, then click OK. The SDK Component Installer will download and install the Android SDK components and related build tools. When it's completed downloading the SDK, click Finish. Click OK to close the SDK Manager and return to Android Studio. The React Native tools require some environment variables to be set up in order to build apps with native code. Add the displayed lines to your ~/.z profile or ~/.zshrc config file. If you are using Bash, then add them to the ~/.bash_profile or ~/.bashrc config file. Run source ~/.z profile or source ~/.bash_profile for Bash to load the config into your current shell. Verify that Android_home has been set by running echo $Android_home and verify that the appropriate directories have been added to your path by running echo $path. In this video, you learned that you can use any of the different combinations of development OS and target OS available in the setup process. To work with Android and React Native, you need Node.js, specific SDK, and Android Studio. After installing Android Studio, you need to configure it. After configuring Android Studio, the installation process downloads the required tools and software components. Android Studio installs the latest Android SDK by default. Building a React Native app with native code requires the Android 14 Upside-Down Cake SDK. Additional Android SDKs can be installed through the SDK Manager, and React Native requires the Android_home environment variable to be set up to build apps with native code.